Ciao ragazzi, this is not Photoshop. We are actually here, so if police comes or something, I guess we have some more content. I have no idea if this is even doable.
Just bail us out.
Yes, we have
Just
two
bail
immigrants.
us out.
Exactly, just bail us out. We have two immigrants in front of the Capitol talking about many things. I feel like we gotta start directly with the hardcore shit.
Yeah, we gotta start.
You're an immigrant, I am an immigrant.
Yeah.
Let's talk about immigration.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about immigration. You know far better than I do about American immigration, so I'm gonna have you start. And this is for everybody, so what is happening on the southern border? And let's be objective.
Okay.
Not political yet, let's be objective. I want the numbers, at least a general idea of numbers.
Okay, so last year alone, over 245,000 migrants encountered by Border Patrol at the southern border. Encountered. Those are just the ones that they caught.
So there's more that we did not catch. We did not see who came in.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
the equivalent of the home city, even more than the home city of my father, of people, an entire city came into America in 1 year.
As of August.
And when you say,
so I'm talking fiscal year here.
Fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you say encountered, they came in and they were recorded. We have their names and everything.
So yes and no. So either we caught them when they were trying to cross the border and they were turned back, or they were accepted in the United States on asylum status or refugee status or whatever the case it would be.
Okay.
Encountered means they had physical contact with a Border Patrol agent or a Border Patrol agency.
Okay.
Outside of a point of entry. So this is the most important thing. These numbers are outside of a port of entry. So they didn't try to get in the United States by going through a point of entry. Hey, this is my name. This is what I want to get to America. This is what I want to do there. This is who I am. No, they tried to cross the border outside of a port of entry, either climbing the wall, under the wall, around the wall, or majority of the southern border doesn't even have a wall, so they just
walked through it.
Walked through it.
Okay, let me ask you a general question. In this section of I would rather ask you questions, have you talk. And I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate. America is based on immigration. So the reason why America and the United States are so powerful is because America was able to suck in the best minds out around the world, incentivize them to work and actually create stuff. I work in construction, so most of my team, they're all legal of course, but most of my team came from South America because they are willing to do the jobs that many Americans are not willing to do. So I gotta say that on my side I see some of the positives. However, of course, there are negatives. As an Italian, we are the #1 port of entry for all of Africa. We have a city, we have a town in Italy, actually a little island, Lampedusa, that is notorious for having a population that sometimes of the year has more illegal immigrants than the real Italian population in it.
Yeah.
And that's where we start dispersing them around Europe, but it's notorious for always being filled with stuff. What do you think about immigration in general, and what do you think we should do about immigration?
Well, I'm very liberal when it comes to immigration.
Okay.
The only thing I care about is that when you come to the United States government has to know who you are.
Okay.
That means full name, documents, fingerprints, and picture. That's all I care about, which is something I get a lot of flack for from conservatives and Republicans.
Okay.
But again, to what you said, it's a nation built on immigrants. So we need to be able to give people the possibility to make it in America, but we need to know who you are. This is not Romania, this is not Italy. Nobody's gonna try a 9/11 in Romania or in Italy. But sure as hell, they might try it here in America. Therefore, it's just logical, and we have to use critical thinking here, something that a lot of Americans are not, especially on the left, that there are a lot of powerful entities out there that hate us. They hate you solely because of the color of your passport.
Oh.
So what does that mean? That means we need to up security. That means we cannot have just anybody cross the border willy-nilly. That means that when Border Patrol and FBI and DHS are putting out a bulletin that, hey, we just stopped six people from the Middle East at the southern border that are on a terrorist watch list, everybody's red flag should be up, everybody's defense should be up. However, for whatever reason, it is not. Can you imagine, from the Middle East, they came through South America and they were apprehended at the southern border. And a lot of people on the left are going to make the argument that, oh my God, you see, the border is working, they are doing their job, they caught them. Yes. How many though?
You think there's much more than that?
Well, I don't want to say that there are, you know, people on terrorist watch lists in the United States that got here through the southern border. I'm saying that you don't know who's coming in this country, right? And a border is where good ideas start and bad ideas end. And we are a country that, again, you are right, we are built on the backs of immigrants, but we need to know who you are. And I don't think that that is asking too much. I really don't.
You know what? So to me, it's very. There's a lot of hypocrisy in the whole system, because it seems like just walking through the border is the easiest way to get in America. You just wait, you get some kind of reform, temporary thing to remain in America. You have the dreamers, this and that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, of course, DACA.
Okay. And then you have people like us that took 3 years to get into America. But why not increase the border protection so that you, let's say, can protect the state much more, but lower the standards that it takes to come in America as a legal citizen? Because I do videos in Italian. I have a lot of messages from people saying, guys, if we don't find an actual job, there's no way for us to come to America. And so many Italians want to come to America. So it seems like if you're going the legal route, it's next to impossible, unless you get very lucky, unless you have a company that spends 10 grand for a visa and everything to get you in, to get the visa and to become American. Well, if you just cross the border, just wait a couple of years, wait for some reform, stay a little bit longer, until at one point your, let's say, temporary states become a more permanent state. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you on the fact that America's success throughout the history of time can be directly correlated to the immigrants that has accepted in. However, I don't think that lowering the standards would be the best course of action. I don't think that if we are really talking about what's best for America, if we are really talking about what's best for our society, lowering the standard is the right route, regardless of what the standard is, regardless of the percentage of lowering the standard we are talking about.
Lowering the standards doesn't mean that I am accepting stupid people. It means that I'm making it easier to come in. Let me make you an example. For digital nomads, states like Portugal is now literally giving a fee entry visa for Americans. It's making it extremely easy for people to work and operate and live in Portugal while working, for example, as a digital nomad. So offering similar easy services to get a normal work visa to come to America and potentially also build your life in America, make it easier for people, while at the same time improving the standards for people who are trying to come in illegally.
Okay.
So blocking the borders, so no more illegal immigration.
Exactly.
But increasing the facility.
That's
to come
where I was going to go with it.
And the facility for people to come in legally. Because I know that I have 200,000 people coming in illegally that will still end up staying here.
You are correct.
So why am I not protecting and making it easier for people to go the legal route, to come in legally?
Yeah. So
at least I know who's coming in.
Any immigration reform that we would be open to having a discussion about cannot happen without securing the southern border.
Okay.
Because you cannot, first, we would have to take care of the immigrants that are here in the country first, right? Before we are even thinking of making it easier for other immigrants out there to come in. In order, the system alone, as it is right now, it's overwhelmed to the max. So what needs to happen, in my opinion, is number one, we secure the border fully. Nobody in outside of a port of entry. So that means that the only way you can get in the country is through a point of entry by being vetted and having a direct interaction with somebody from Border Patrol or Department of Homeland Security or Immigration or whatever the case it would be. And then you know that nobody's gonna come in. Are people still gonna come in? Absolutely. Extremely small percentage compared to what we have right now. And once you have that, once you have control over the southern border, once you have a control over the influx of people coming through the southern border, and we can put the northern border in this situation as well. However, the numbers are extremely low. Once you have that, then you can go and Congress can come up with the tangible, achievable strategy to deal with every immigrant that is illegally here or undocumented here in the United States on a case-by-case basis. And what I mean by that is no one glove fits all, no one size for all. We cannot do that considering the number that we have. If we can check tax returns for tens of millions of Americans, we can check and come up with a doable and actionable immigration plan that is on a case-by-case basis and primarily based on merit. So what I mean by that is very simple. You overstayed your visa, but you've been paying taxes, you have no criminal record. This is the path for citizenship. You're gonna get a work permit for 2 years, 3 years, then a green card for another 2-3 years, and then you can apply for citizenship. Or you are DACA, which is something the Republicans are really losing on. These are the child arrivals. Kids being brought by their parents in the United States. Republicans are making the argument that they don't belong here and we need to send them back.
Okay.
Democrats are making the argument, and which is my argument as well, that a child has no control over the actions of their parent. So all of a sudden you can have an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old that was brought here as a kid, in some cases even told by his or her parents that he or she is a US citizen, right? And you're trying to send them back? Where?
They grew up
Where are you going to send them back?
Americans.
You're going to send them back to Mexico or Nicaragua or Venezuela or Cuba or, well, Cuba probably not. But you're trying to send them back somewhere where they've never been. They have no contact in.
They could never go back or else they would not been able to come back to America.
Why would you do that when they have been in this country for 11, 18, 19, 20, 25 years?
Okay.
If they have a clean record, they have some job, they are paying some taxes. Why? I don't. Isn't that proof enough that they are contributing member to society?
Yeah,
let them stay. Let them stay. They are already contributing to society.
They're also the kind of.
And majority of DACAs are going to school, which means they graduate high school, and in a lot of cases they are going to college.
They're also the kind of Americans you want, the ones with the old school Latino values, which is the old school American
traditional values.
Traditional values. Strong family ties. But
why would you send these people back?
Yes.
It makes no sense. So Republicans, conservatives, hear this out and ask yourself, do you think that you want DACA immigrants to be sent back just because you heard it on the news or you heard somebody online or you heard somebody that works in this building? Or can we have a deeper conversation and do what's right? And I don't say this lightly. Yes, they came in the country legally, but they were brought here by their parents as kids. They had no control over, unlike a 30-year-old that is deciding to cross the border tomorrow outside of a point of entry.
They're more likely to also be loving and wanting to stay in America than many actual real Americans.
Exactly.
And as immigrants, we are here. We left two beautiful countries. Okay.
Yes.
Romania is also beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
To this place that, I'll be very honest, architecturally is not the best. DC is pretty nice, but the rest of America is pretty much copy-paste. Walmart,
just concrete jungle.
Yeah, Walmart,
and
gas, McDonald's, and a couple of cookie-cutter design houses. To a society that is not as culturally strong as European societies, to pursue a dream. I believe that we represent much more the American dream than many of the young Americans, and you want to kick the good people that represent this country and the old values out. I don't think that's correct. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, but even with them, I would do it on a case-by-case basis. And for me, having a criminal record, it's a deal breaker. And I'm not talking about a speeding ticket or you were stopped by the police and you had the joint with you. I'm talking about violent crime, abuse, domestic abuse, violence, firearm charges, drug charges, like outside of Mary Jane, just so you know we understand each other. Tax evasion, all that stuff. If you are breaking the law, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm not.
Why are Americans so attached? That's a little sad question. Why are Americans so attached to speeding tickets? Like, it can be the difference between getting a job or not.
What do you mean? No, we
Speeding
can't.
tickets are a big deal in America.
No. No, they
Here in
ain't.
Virginia it is.
It is? What do you mean they can stop you from getting a job?
Like it gets on your background check. In Italy you get a speeding ticket, you pay and you're fine. That's
Yeah,
it.
but like I run background checks for my work for a living. Like I never cared.
I'm talking about corporate, like
Yeah.
high-end corporate, a place like Big Fours, this kind of stuff. Speeding ticket can
They
be...
don't really care, man. Nobody
do,
cares
they
about
do.
speeding tickets.
Yo, I have stories that I cannot say, but they do. They do care about speeding tickets. They do care even about parking tickets in some
Really?
cases.
Oh wow. But anyway,
Yes.
so we gotta secure the border. We have to deal with the immigrants that are in the country first before we even consider making it easier for other immigrants out there. I agree with you. There are countries out there that have people, citizens of other countries, they have a much harder chance of coming to the United States than me and you had. But that's
Still
for
took me 2 fucking years, and then I have to cross the border.
yeah.
And I still had to prove to America, the American oceans, that I'm not a terrorist.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
So, in a lot of instances, for a lot of countries, it's harder to come to the United States because of the actions of their citizens. For example, I'm from Romania. The neighboring country, Hungary, they don't need a tourist visa for the United States. They can just get on a plane, they get here, they get an I-94 at the immigration checkpoint when they land in the United States, and that's it. Romanians have to get a tourist visa to come to the United States.
Italians have too.
Yeah.
You need to get an
so right. So it all depends, and it's all in conjunction with the country that you're coming from. Now, I'm not against making the system easier, but I still think that it should be a merit-based system in which you need to bring some value to this country. And I want to make sure that I clarify this. I don't think the majority of immigrants in this country are providing no value. I think the majority of immigrants in this country are hard-working individuals that are killing it in the job market, that are blowing their competition out of the way, that are really dedicated and they really care about their job, their career, be that in corporate, be that in agriculture, farming, construction, what have you. Okay, you deal with construction more than I do, but the immigrants that I know, they work in construction, top notch. So obviously the majority of immigrants here, they want to create something for themselves, which is why they're coming, because the lack of opportunity in our home country. But it needs to be done the right way. Your first action, your first step when coming to the United States cannot be breaking an American law. It just cannot be.
No.
Like the first thing needs to be to try to come here legally. Come here, let us get your fingerprints, let us get your beautiful picture, and after that, we can go from there.
At least we know who you are.
But at least we know who you are. So if you're involved in some crime, at least we have some information about you. I just made 2 videos this week alone about human trafficking and sexual assault of minors. Both videos involved illegal immigrants. Now, if the border would have been 100% sure, could this not happen? No, it still probably would have happened because Americans were involved in it as well.
Let me stop you there. What do you think is the best way, historically speaking, to secure a border?
Walls. Historically speaking, walls. Today,
walls.
I don't think a wall is the best choice.
Example.
Berlin.
Okay, that was not just a wall.
Yeah, correct, but
there was the Roman, the limes. Ancient Rome separated its imperium from the barbaric Germans through the limes, which was like a 3-meter wall, not too tall, pretty nice. Did its job for a while. One of the longest living imperiums in the world for a while. But yeah, what do you think would be the best way to do it today?
I think that right now, in 2023, we have the technology to secure the border without building a freaking wall. So I think in 2023, building a wall is not the best strategy.
Well,
from a financial perspective.
It's the one that you can keep for the longest, though. And
yeah,
you can do a lot of work.
You can also climb it. You can also weld a hole out of it.
But you don't have to
You can also dig
it.
under. Well, you can't really dig underneath because it's kind of deep down. But I feel like we have the technology. This is the United States of America. We have the technology to secure the border without building a freaking wall. We have motion sensors, we have infrared cameras, we have above ground sensors, we have underground sensors. The US military has all these.
We have a lot.
Right?
Yeah, but it's expensive stuff.
Yeah, but it's a one-time investment.
Well, also a wall is a one-time investment.
Correct. But I feel like using technology it's cheaper than building a wall.
It could be a mix of all these technologies. Places where it's difficult to get to, you put something physical. The places where it's easier to get to, you don't need to put something physical. Porco la puzzoletta. I almost said something very bad in Italian, which fortunately we didn't say. It's okay. Anyway, done with the first one. We talked about immigration. Let's go on to the next one. We're in front of the Capitol building. One of the biggest pushes we saw in the past 5 years is the general narrative. Let's start with the data. The narrative of the environment. The data says, let's see if we can agree on this.
Sorry.
The data says that in the past couple of years we had an increase in temperature, we had some changes in the environment, and if you look at data plenty of times, we can kind of deduct that it is humanly induced. So let me ask you a question before we started to conversating. Can we both agree? I know you're more on the Republican side, I'm more on the center side. Can we agree that there is some environmental shit happening?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that is a good start. That is a very good start. Now, the discussion here now is how are we tackling it and are we investing the money in the right stuff? I'm gonna start with cars. I saw in the past 3 years, not only in America, but also especially in Europe, this gigantic push for these electric cars, which first of all have been proven to, from a production perspective, pollute more than the production of a normal car.
Correct.
Secondly, we proved that filling up the entire grid line for electric cars, we don't have capacity, so we have to replace the entire grid line. And thirdly, the question is, where does that electricity come from? And right now it's not from mostly good sources that are actually clean. Then we can talk about multiple different things, but I'm gonna start broad. What do you think, after confirming that yes, there is environmental stuff happening on a global scale, how do you think the United States is tackling this? And how do you think is it influencing the rest of the world? Because America is the first mover and then the rest copies.
Correct.
Actually, it's California, then America, and then the rest of the world.
Correct, yes, especially when it comes to
So we can also
EV.
talk about California.
Yeah. Okay, so to the question of how I think that America is tackling this.
Yes.
You just had a politician a month ago try to prove to everybody that going EV is the right way to go.
Yep.
So she got in her electric vehicle and she decided to do a tour of the country.
Okay. Well, that's a good way. On paper, that sounds pretty good as a...
The only issue is that she had, I don't know if they were members of her office or who they were, 2 gasoline cars drive in front of her to make sure that there are gonna be EV chargers along the way.
Okay.
Okay?
Were they necessary to actually help her achieve this?
I don't know, but that's how I see America when it comes to EV. We are just gonna try to do all these things about climate change, regardless if they make sense, regardless if they don't make sense. Why? Because we get extra brownie points if we are climate friendly, if we are for the climate, if we are recycling, even though 60% of recycling centers in the United States don't even recycle, they just dump everything together.
You're talking to one person that comes from the country that recycles the most.
Exactly, absolutely.
And we're pretty hardcore on that.
Yeah. So I feel that the idea from the left is we have to do all these things for climate change because climate change.
Do you think
and
it's...
then we'll see what sticks. We'll see what works. I mean, you have clinical diagnosis today for climate anxiety, my friend.
What is that?
That means when you have anxiety as a result of climate change.
mean, if you
You're
live in
anxious about the planet dying, and you have climate change anxiety.
if you live in a concrete city, I can understand. If you're surrounded by concrete all the time. but
Most
that's
of
what you see.
leftists live in the big cities, so yes, there is
If you
that.
live a little bit in the countryside, maybe you change a little bit of perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For example, since you mentioned the countryside,
Yeah.
in Texas, there is, I think it's 2 hours west of Dallas-Fort Worth, there's a literal dumping ground of wind turbine blades,
It's metal.
fiberglass.
They're made of fiberglass.
Yeah, so a town became the dumping ground of some energy company, and that's where they dumped all the blades from the wind turbines that they have been recycling in Texas.
They cannot recycle
And it
them?
started with one truck,
Okay.
and now it's a literal dumping ground.
But they cannot do recycling.
They
of
can
them,
recycle,
They cannot reuse them.
however, recycling fiberglass is very cost inefficient
Okay.
and does not give you any ROI because of how much the cost of recycling fiberglass
Okay.
is. So we are doing all these things that, yes, it might help, but it's definitely not helping at the scale that is being portrayed by the media and politicians, and is definitely not having the impact that they would have you believe. The climate change argument is not gonna end with America, it's not gonna end with Europe, it's gonna end with China and Russia, which they don't really care, because all they care is about developing their country and being in competition with us, and it's gonna be decided by South Africa and Africa overall and Southeast Asia by people that are barely having food to eat. They are not gonna care about climate change
But let me ask
when
you.
their shitter is 50 feet from their front
Yes.
door in the backyard.
Okay, let me change a little bit of perspective here. I honestly believe that there's a lot that America can do in climate change, but I believe
Absolutely.
that rather than pushing it down the throat of the citizens, I believe that if you change the approach of it, more people can do a lot of stuff. Let me make an example. Solar panels are becoming cheaper. Solar panels are getting to a level where if I take out a loan and get the government incentives and do a 10-year loan and I have solar panels for 30 years, I have free energy for 30 years. So the concept of rather than buying renewable energy, creating it myself and then selling it back to the grid and do it on a small scale.
That's
each
how it's
one
in
of
Europe.
us, yes. I mean, that's what we did in Italy. In Italy, because of Russia and all that shit, our costs of energy became so high that my parents decided to invest in photovoltaic solar panels in their house, and they're literally selling back to the grid. So they don't pay those gigantic fees they were paying in the beginning.
Oh,
they're selling back. So I believe that capitalistically, if well sold, rather than having the government take too much into it, you can achieve much more from a company to customer perspective than from a government to customer. Now, should a government maybe incentivize a little bit more? Yes. Should the government push on only one thing? I don't know, because I feel like that there are so many technologies or sub-technologies or alternatives. Just think about ethanol. You know what ethanol is?
Of course.
Like vegetable fuel. Without, because nobody's talking about, if you were to replace 350 million cars, there is some environmental consequences of that.
Correct.
You gotta replace 350 million cars, 350 million Americans, and build 350 million cars. Or you could change or alter a little bit the technology of what we already have. Switching these to, in Italy we have, I don't know if in Romania you have it, LPG.
Oh, of course,
Liquid petroleum
absolutely.
gas.
You literally have a gas tank in your,
In
a
it.
propane tank in your trunk. And there are some modifications to the engine, and you don't put gas anymore, or you can put gas a little bit just to start the car, and after that it transitions to the LPG, which is literally butane now.
It's propane. The thing is, so LPG can decrease emissions by 30 to 50%, and it requires one mod on all these cars that already exist. So without having to replace 20 million cars, you're reducing emissions by 50% cheaply, and LPG costs 30 to 50% less than gasoline. So it's cheaper to run. I'm saying there's so many cool technologies out there. Why are we shoving electric down the throat of our citizens? I see a future where we have multiple things in parallel, not just one. I think that's stupid. I think that's very stupid. I think that it's just marketing.
Again,
I don't like that.
For me, the typical, and I'm gonna get a little political here.
Go ahead.
For
Be
me,
my guest.
the typical Democrat policy is let me shove it down your throat what you want to hear rather than what you need to hear, and then when you change your mind as the consumer or the client, that my constituent, I'm gonna change my pace.
We talked about immigration. We talked about environment. Let's talk about now something that is more known to be, let's say, conservative Republican, but I believe it's an issue also across the whole spectrum, even all of the society of America. GDP. In the past 30, 40, 50 years, we've seen the well-being of a society and an economy just in the numbers by looking at this formula that equates to what we call the GDP, the gross domestic product. How much we as an American community produce, and then we divide it by how many people we live there, and that's the GDP per capita.
Correct.
And based on that, we can say that our society is growing, is doing better or not. The problem is that what GDP does not look at is the actual people. We only look at numbers, but we don't see how they're feeling. We don't see their depression rates. We don't see how their families are doing. We don't see, even on the democratic side, the pollution. We don't see many other aspects of society. Perfect example I can give you is Italians are broke. Romanians are broke.
Yeah.
But on the depression scale, somehow we are happier. Why is that? We eat different foods, we're healthier, we pay less in healthcare.
We have goals, we have a direction, a purpose in life.
Exactly. So I'm going to introduce a little bit more of the discussion, and then I would like to see your perspective in this.
Okay.
There is a new ideal that has been coming out, which is called degrowth. Degrowth is many things. I will keep it simple. The concept is not only looking at the growth of society based on GDP, just based on numbers, looking at everything else, and not seeing something bad from an economy always as something bad. For example, a recession. After the inflation, after the pumping up the markets we saw during COVID because of cheap money, we saw a period of recession that everybody is feeling now, okay? However, some good things came out of the crisis we had in the past 3 years, such as an improved logistics, something positive came out. There is a lot of shit, Americans cannot afford stuff right now, I understand, but something positive came out. So not seeing just the numbers, but seeing as society as a whole. The other example I can give you is my personal one. Until now, American society embedded in me that if I'm not growing every single year in my income, I'm doing shit. I'm not growing. I suck as a person. This year, instead of flipping a house, I decided to put it for rent, which means taking a $70,000 pay cut. But I spent 1.5 months skiing and 3 months in Italy with my family. I literally had the equivalent of 10 years of PTO of the average American in 1 year. Am I proud about this? Yes, I feel much happier. I saw my family, I focused some attention not only on the money and the growth and everything, but also on the rest of the purpose of society. So I gave you a lot of information. What is your thought on this in terms of you as Bogdan, and in terms of how maybe as society we should start observing everything about an economy and a society?
Oh, absolutely. We should observe everything that is happening in our society from a social perspective, but also an economic perspective. And I think that now more than ever we should look through both lenses and combine the two. You are 100% right. And this is something that I'm being told a lot, that European countries are better because people are happier there, based on whatever study the person is gonna decide to quote. But it's never about, it's always an attack on capitalism, and it's always an attack on corporate America, which I do understand to the point. To the point, yeah. But the conversation never revolves around what we are just discussing right now. The depression rates, the anxiety rates, the happiness rates, what we are eating. We know
what we're eating.
That if you are a person that is struggling with anxiety and depression, if your doctor is not telling you that the first thing you need to cut out is sugar, you should change your doctor immediately.
Yes.
Sugar is the #1 thing that is detrimental to human beings. outside of moderation, and for some, even with moderation. It's inflammatory, and if you have chronic anxiety and chronic depression, it's gonna screw you up in more ways than you can imagine.
And it's everywhere in America.
Nobody's talking about this, right? We are not talking about how in my country, and I know for a fact in your country as well, the family bond and the family relationships and the family community that you all have and we have that are providing that safety net that a lot of Americans are expecting the government to provide.
Yes, but it's coming also to us, this whole thing of the government should do more and more and more.
Correct.
But approach, unfortunately. But go on.
People are already in that mindset in Europe because they get a lot of social services over there because they like to pay a 35% tax to the government, or 40 or 60. In Romania is more like a 38, 39 at the end of the day.
That's not bad.
Okay, which is not bad for what you're getting, but I think you said it the best probably a year ago. If you want to be just a number and live a basic life, go to Europe and you're going to get basic services.
Yes.
You want to be the king and the top of the world, come to America, put in the effort, and your life is going to be a direct correlation between the effort that you're putting and where you're going to be in life in that particular moment.
You know, right? That I believe that many of these issues that I just described and just added on are not derivative directly from the government, the system itself, but from the marketing we get pumped in our throat.
Correct.
And our family values. Let me explain.
From a cultural perspective, right?
Let me explain. I have my business, which gives me my personal purpose. I have my ideals, which give me my purpose. But I also have my family values. Me knowing that I'm part of my family, trying to help on the family project, knowing that maybe in 20 years I will have to take care of my parents. That purpose also keeps me alive. It gives me something to live for. Knowing that I can help my cousin this, it gives me some extra purpose. Food. I'm in America, even though the food is not the best, I'm still able to eat healthy. I learn how to cook, it is embedded in my culture.
He made risotto last night.
Exactly.
I helped.
Yes, now it is embedded in my culture, so I was lucky in that. However, I believe that how society is marketing crap into people here, it is making them unhealthy. And deprogramming the people that are already older is very hard.
Correct?
Correct. Next to impossible. Programming the kids, yes, but again...
I don't know what country it is, but just last week they banned Frosted Flakes. A particular country, I don't know.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
It's like some cereal and apparently has some chemicals in it that are very cancerogenic, and they just banned them. It might have been Japan, I might be wrong. We'll screenshot this and add it.
We banned fake meat.
You banned fake meat. Yeah, here in America they are trying to push fake meat because...
Which is full of crap.
It's full of crap, and I don't want to talk too much because I'm actually working on this, and I'm still researching it. But if you actually look at how they are trying to make the fake meat, it's crazy. And you're telling me that this American what?
That it's healthy.
Yeah. Are you telling me that from 323 million Americans in this country, we don't have a majority of adults that are looking at everything surrounding fake meat and are like, no, bro, like that is not okay. That can give me cancer, that can give me some issues. Like, we are the most medicated country on the planet. We prescribe medicine like it's crazy. We already have a high rate of anxiety, depression, mental health issues, autoimmune disorders, autoimmune health issues. And are you telling me that adding fake meat somehow is gonna improve everything? It's not gonna make it worse? Meat made in a lab. This is just gross. One word. Gross. Another word, disgusting.
Let me add another thing. This is also part of the whole degrowth situation, and specifically food. It is a little bit different. We call it the 0 kilometer food. Italy is famous for having food that is grown locally. So whenever you eat in a restaurant in Rome, you know that the food was taken mostly locally in a radius of maximum 30 kilometers. Mm-hmm. So people bring it there. Well, here, to me what was nuts is the fact that I can have the same food all year round. I know I can have watermelon in December, which to me doesn't make fucking sense. Yeah. I know that I can get grapes in March. It doesn't make fucking sense.
Yeah.
So I know that stuff is imported. Again, the whole thing, environment, helping, saving the planet, and then I know that your fucking avocado is coming from the other side of the world, brought in an airplane.
Or on a boat.
Yes,
right. Shipped with trucks and
probably
everything.
pumped with shit because it needs to preserve itself.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all for the sake of unnecessary consuming.
Exactly. And the same can be said about their attacks on agriculture, and we have seen it in Europe
With
the trucks, with the tractors, and how they are trying to seize farmland from farmers and agricultures in order to fight climate change. And the same BS is being pushed here in the United States, even though it really makes no sense. I cannot imagine living in the developed world and we are talking about moving away from agriculture, moving away from farming, when
how do you feed the people?
How do you feed the people? So I don't know if you know stats about this, but just the United States, 95% of the population is being fed by 5% of the population.
Oh yes.
And most of those people, they work in farming and agriculture and the dairy industry. They are barely making it even.
Yep.
They cannot set their own prices. They are working, they don't have a 9 to 5, there's no such thing. They are gonna stay up until midnight or 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. if it's calving season or lambing season or so on and so forth. I just came across a TikTok the other night, actually Monday night, after I landed here in DC. There was this guy, I don't know how he came up on my feed, but it was midnight here, that means 11 p.m. in Texas, and he was farming for soybean with his combine and everything. And
these guys
I was like,
their ass off.
my God, like you just cannot mimic that. So I have some numbers for you here and for everybody that is curious. When it comes to climate change, the agriculture is only 11% contributor.
And most of it is
transportation is 29%.
Most of it is meat farming.
Yeah, industry is 30%, and commercial and residential is 30%. And our beef exports have increased to Mexico alone by 10%.
Okay.
To 10%. And 95%, because going back to the climate change discussion, 94% of all the cattle water consumption in the United States, or on average, is green water, aka rainfall and so on and so forth. So the numbers that they are pushing, that all of this is contributing to the planet warming up and climate change and all that, they really don't add up. That's why I said earlier that they are pushing a narrative what their voters want to hear, and when things change, then they are going to change the narrative again.
Okay. I believe that one of the biggest problems, again to the whole topic of degrowth. Hey, what's up? Another thing to add to this, and still goes together with degrowth. The problem that we allowed the world of investing to get also in things such as food. Let me explain. Shareholders.
Correct.
Shareholders, yes. And commoditations of things. Wheat prices, wheat, how do you say it?
Wheat.
Not
say
wheat. Wheat or wheat?
No wheat, no Mary Jane. Wheat.
Okay. Wheat prices. Commoditization. So if I allow people that have nothing to do with the production and the sale of these products to, how do you say, do arbitrage. You know what arbitraging means?
Exactly.
Arbitrage. Buy and sell. Buy low, sell high and stuff. I'm affecting the price of something without having the, let's say, normal market do it. The perfect pricing competition of Smith and Hume, the capitalist by excellence. So I'm adding a factor that should not be there in a market that doesn't need it, fucking up the pricing and giving less freedom to the same farmers who are now being dictated by the rules of investing rather than their own production and their own customers. And adding in investors, talk about BlackRock, these big hedge funds that own literally everything, including the production of food and the media and healthcare and much more. I'm literally giving no control to the people producing, and I think that's fucked up.
I 100% agree with you, and we actually talked about this the other night, how BlackRock, Vanguard, and another company that the name is slipping right now, they are major shareholders in 80% of S&P 500
Yes.
companies. And are you telling me that that's not going to have an impact on how those companies are running their business, how those companies are tackling decisions on their boards and so on and so forth? Absolutely it will.
Yeah, because if I am a farmer or if I work for a large production group and I know that I'm mostly owned by a group of investors, I understand that I need to respond to my customers to sell, but I'm also responding to my investors. So I'm not fulfilling the need of the customer to full extent by, for example, reinvesting all of my profit into the business, because I know that a part of the profit I gotta go back, give it as dividend or as some kind of profit or as a stock buyback. The dynamics of the stock market, which on one hand are cool because it enables people to have a 401k and retire and everything, which is a cool system. On the other, I believe if let open across all industries, such as food, it can be damaging to society. It's
Correct,
very
just like
interesting.
lobbying. It's exactly the same principle.
Talk about lobbying. This is the last one of today. I asked him this question earlier and I did not know, so I will ask this again because I feel that many people don't know, especially the international. What is the difference between a Republican and a conservative?
Okay.
I thought it was the same thing. It's not. What
It's
is it?
not. It really isn't. So I would never, the way the Republican Party is right now, I would never identify as a Republican. Never. I feel that I have conservative values.
Okay.
So the difference is the Republican Party is built on conservative values and morals and ideology. Okay?
Yep.
However, the Republican Party also needs to achieve some goals. They also need to get some stuff done. So how they are getting that stuff done? By using politics, by playing politics.
Okay.
Okay, and part of that is also by lobbying. Is when you get the quid pro quo. I need something from you, you need something from me, we collaborate, and I might lower my standard, or you might lower your standard, in order to achieve a goal. And that's what Republicans and Democrats are doing.
So what you're saying, a conservative is against lobbying, a Republican does lobbying.
I feel that every conservative should be against lobbying. It's really not
Like
working.
every single person should be against lobbying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Regardless if you're there,
lobbying.
left
They
or
say
right.
they say the Italians are corrupt. We are corrupt, but you are too is simply legal in America because you call it lobbying.
Correct.
I mean, not
Correct.
you're Romanian.
Absolutely. Yes. The same in Romania. Yeah. Here it's legal because it's
Yes.
lobbying. So I get asked a lot every time I do like a live stream. When are you running for office? Never. And definitely not
Are you
while
running
you
for
have.
Romanian office?
No. What the fuck would I do in Romania? I just left the Romanian embassy.
I would first-
Imagine the worst dump house that you can find on Zillow. And that's how it looked inside at the Romanian embassy where I went to renew my Romanian passport. And it smelled like piss.
You have no pride in improving your house, your place you come from? You have no pride in wanting to improve your place?
If that country would have offered me something when I was there, probably, but it didn't offer me much, so I'm gone. And I'm here now, and I've been here
made
for
you who you
12
are
years.
now.
It made me who I am now. Yes, and I've been grinding here in the States for the last 12 years, and there's no reason for me to go back when my life is here.
I would like
Right.
to give back to both countries.
Okay?
Because America
You're a
gives
little
lot-
more optimistic than I am, but I don't see myself, having a family and
It is.
being between America and,
I believe
and Europe.
it is our duty to give a lot to America because this place gives us so much.
Absolutely.
100% in
Yeah.
terms of taxes, creating jobs, creating business, helping people, teaching people and everything. But I believe that with our knowledge here is our duty to bring our knowledge here to improve also the partnership, because in the end they're all partners with America too.
Yeah.
Of our own states, improving their own situation.
Well,
also
look how
improving
much
the
we're
global
improving
level.
to America just by doing this.
Yes.
Right?
yes.
So you're also doing videos and streams in Italian.
I'm
so you're
doing that in
improving.
Italian. No, I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I'm teaching a lot to Italians about the American system and how
Exactly.
we should take some of the beautiful things of America to Italy too. But I would like to also give back to Italy at one point in the future. Maybe when I retire. I don't know.
Oh, maybe you can adopt a kid from there.
We'll see.
Did I get to spoil?
3 kids.
3 kids. There we go. 3 kids, ladies and gentlemen. I need to increase my income to be the cool uncle.
you want to spoil them, yes. That's all.
Hey, it's a wrap.